Hi, I'm Renee Ng, your host for Common Sense. In today's episode, we talk about this. That's right, hair. We visit Sword and Deaur Hair Restoration Center. They specialize in hair transplant surgery. We're going to find out how they got started and how they've been helping patients look and feel their best since opening in 1988. Most people take their hair for granted, but once you lose it, it can be a traumatic experience. Dr. Mark Deaur of Sword and Deaur Hair Restoration can relate.
I started losing my own hair in my early 20s, so I started to look into it back then when I was in medical school.
What he found was surprising.
Once I started to look into hair transplant procedures and how natural they can be when done the right way, I was intrigued by it. And the more I looked into the field, the more interested I was in the field.
Dr. Deaur ultimately specialized in the field, something he used to joke about with his roommate in medical school.
I would joke with him, and it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke at that point, that I'm going to be a hair transplant surgeon one day. Little did I know that I was actually going to be a hair transplant surgeon one day.
Last year, Dr. Deaur took over Sword and Deaur Hair Restoration in Torrance, a 2,500 square foot practice which helps patients who are losing their hair. They use safe, surgical methods to move hair from the back of the head to the front, a process he underwent himself.
Having gone through the entire process as a patient as well provides me with a unique perspective, and I feel like I can share that with my patients because I went through all the same anxiety pre, during, post that they're going through.
Since taking over, Dr. Deaur maintains a staff of 6 to 10 that includes assistants, nurses, and surgical techs.
The other thing that's really important to me is creating a work environment that's fun to come to work every day from every aspect. If there's tension or people feel uptight, then the entire workplace environment doesn't feel right.
Staff members benefit from this approach as well.
You build close relationships with the nurses and all of the techs. You get to establish a one-on-one relationship with the patients.
Dr. Deaur relies on his business knowledge to run the practice.
Obviously, it helps to have taken business classes and have some background in economics and things like that, of which I was lucky enough to have in college.
And experience from running his own private hair transplant surgery practice in West LA for over 10 years.
I feel like my background in running my own practice really helped me tremendously in kind of integrating what really worked well for me in my own private practice and applying those principles to this practice.
Dr. Deaur was also inspired by his father.
I think growing up around that and seeing how he was successful not only as a caring, compassionate physician, but also made it work on the business aspect kind of inspired me to do the same.
Sword and Deaur Hair Restoration was originally established by Dr. Randall Sword, a well-known surgeon in the hair transplant industry.
I had reached out a number of years ago just to introduce myself, and we reconnected about 1.5 years ago when he mentioned to me that he was retiring and was looking to hand over the baton.
Dr. Sword still sees patients, but is gradually cutting back his hours. After this break, we'll get into the root of things and find out how the practice was first established. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Nicole Malachowski, a U.S. Air Force Fighter Squadron Commander and the first woman pilot with the United States Air Force Aerial Demonstration Team. My fellow airmen and I know that each of us plays a huge part in our victories, whether in the air or on the ground. We couldn't accomplish our mission without using everyone's skills to reach our goals. Embracing our differences and working together is also what has made America strong. Thank you for your support, and remember, our strength lies in our diversity. This message brought to you by the United States Air Force.
In order to beat breast cancer, I knew I would have to lose my breasts. But to reclaim my life, I chose breast reconstruction.
Each year, nearly 150,000 women will learn they will undergo a mastectomy due to breast cancer. But 7 out of 10 women are never told about their breast reconstruction options, and the numbers are even worse for minorities. That needs to change.
This living can't be called living if it's really only half a life. She's a flower that grows despite cement walls, and she will survive. She will survive.
I wrote the song Flower to raise awareness of this important issue. Breast reconstruction is a very important part of the healing process, both physically and emotionally, and all women should know their reconstruction options. Download my song Flower to share the message and help us share the knowledge that women can feel whole again.
Welcome back to Common Sense. We're behind the scenes at Sword & Dour Hair Restoration, a business that specializes in hair transplant surgery. Dr. Mark Deaur now runs the practice, but it was first established by Dr. Randall Sword in January 1988.
Well, it started small. It was just me, 2 nurses, techs, and somebody answered the phone, 3 of us. So it's pretty easy when you only got 3 people to supervise.
He secured a bank loan from Malaga Bank and took out a second mortgage against his home to fund the practice. What might seem risky to others was an exciting time for Dr. Sword.
I was able to build something, starting with something. I was only in my early 40s, so I had plenty of time, and I did.
He expanded to 9 office locations in Southern California and even one in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and grew his staff to 28 members with a healthy revenue stream. They even weathered the economic recession.
We had to lower our prices to compete, as that's what we've done, but we kept a steady income, we kept a good profit all the way through.
And faced a common challenge in running a business.
The big head is making payroll. In any practice has highs and lows, and our busy time is the 4th quarter, and the 2nd quarter is the low.
In 2008, Dr. Sword decided to consolidate his practice in preparation for retirement.
I wanted to control when I got out. So I said, well, I want to get out then, so then I closed offices and I started peeling off layers. Instead of going expanding, I started getting smaller again.
And he was looking for a successor.
I was looking for somebody very qualified, somebody young, but not too young.
He found that in Dr. Deaur.
He was the right age, he has a nice attitude, he's very smart. I think he has an artistic touch, and he cares about people.
Which is visible in how Dr. Deaur now runs the practice.
One of the ways I want to set my practice apart is that it's a boutique feel.
He holds free consultations throughout the day, but limits the number of daily procedures to 1 to 2 so he can spend enough time with each patient.
When you come here, you're seeing me. You're going to see me in the consultation. You're going to see me throughout the procedure. You're going to see me when you come back for your suture removal. And that connection that I have to my patients is really important to me.
And that is something Dr. Sword is proud of.
I passed the baton to the man. He's done a good job.
After this short break, we'll tell you exactly what hair transplant surgery entails and why Dr. Deaur and Dr. Sword are leaders in the field.
Welcome to Cook It Safe Challenge, where teams compete to make the right decisions about safe food preparations. Our challenge in this round, read and follow packaged cooking instructions and use a food thermometer. Let's see how our teams are doing so far. Team 1.
We just got 100 points.
We separated our raw food from our cooked food.
Team 2.
We got a 100-point green card for proper hand washing before our meal prep.
We've reached a critical safety point in the challenge. Okay, Team 1, let's check this out. Uh-oh, not a safe internal temperature for those hamburgers. That puts everyone at high risk for foodborne illness. You get a red card, undercooked. Always read and follow the packaged cooking instructions and use a food thermometer. Let's see how our winning team cooked it safe and avoided problems.
Well, I just kept focused on the 4 food safety steps: clean, separate, cook, and chill.
And we followed the packaged cooking instructions and took the temperature.
Can you cook it safe?
Being a gold medalist skier requires a lot of hard work, intense training, and time outside on the mountain. But taking care of my skin is easy and doesn't affect my performance. Every day I apply sunscreen and wear protective gear. I know protecting my skin will help prevent skin cancer and avoid wrinkles. I get my skin checked regularly by a dermatologist. 1 in 5 Americans will develop some form of skin cancer in their lifetime. My name is Julia Mancuso and I'm wearing orange to help put a spotlight on skin cancer.
Welcome back to Common Sense. We're exploring Sword and Dower Hair Restoration, a clinic that specializes in hair transplant surgery for patients who are losing hair. Dr. Sword and Dr. Dower use innovative techniques to relocate hair from the back of the head to the front.
They both, balance out the team here, with experience and innovation, and they both do absolutely beautiful procedures.
The first method is called FUT, or follicular unit transplant.
We take a very thin strip of hair from the permanent hair zone, which is on the back and sides of the hair, and we suture it up, and you're left with a very fine little donor scar.
The hair follicles are separated one by one on the strip and placed into tiny recipient sites on the front of the head so they can grow. This common procedure can cost between $6,000 and $11,000.
I take out the thin little strip, I sew it up, we comb the hair down, and literally the patient walks out of the office that day.
Dr. Dower also specializes in a second method.
Dr. Dower does a more innovative method of the procedure that there's a very small amount of doctors in hair transplantation that actually do this method of procedure, so it's more cutting edge.
It's called FUE, or follicular unit extraction, that doesn't leave a scar but is very time and labor intensive.
I go in one by one and extract one follicle at a time.
Each follicle is inserted into the front of the head just below the surface of the skin.
The advantage of follicular unit extraction is that you don't have that linear scar, so that you can shave your head down to like a number 1 or a number 2 buzz cut without seeing any evidence of that little linear scar.
This procedure is more expensive and costs between $7,000 and $12,000. It also requires an additional step.
We shave the entire head in order to do it because I need to harvest very short hairs. I can't harvest long hairs.
Most patients who undergo these procedures are men, but women do it too, particularly for eyebrows.
Oftentimes with Dr. Dower, he does eyebrows. So those ladies over the years that have over-tweezed or just want to have a thicker type of brow, Dr. Dower does hair transplants into the eyebrows as well.
The hair transplant concept is the same.
I love doing eyebrows because you can't hide eyebrows, and they lay so flat to the skin, and they all flow in a very particular angle and orientation.
Both procedures only go skin deep, and recovery takes about 10 days.
It's more surprising that it's not as uncomfortable as most people think.
And patients are left with something akin to art. They see new hair growth in 3 months. Stay with us after the short break to find out more.
It's from a place of love that I became an activist. It is just a fabulous area, full of life. It's one of the few areas of temperate old-growth forest left on the planet. In the early 90s, it looked like all of the intact forest would be clear-cut logged, and it was very devastating to think of that possibility. So it was quite a pivotal time right then to take action when we did.
1/3 of the massive Great Bear rainforest will now be protected from all logging. We're talking about an area the size of Switzerland.
Having the Great Bear rainforest protected now really means a lot to our community. I would say we're part of the environment just like the animals are. The greatest thing that I enjoy is seeing a total stranger respect this area. We're hoping that years down the line, this place will still be looking the same as it does right now.
Welcome back to Common Sense. If you're just tuning in, we're going behind the scenes at Sword and Dower Hair Restoration. Dr. Deaur and Dr. Sword have almost 40 years combined experience in helping patients recover from hair loss with their surgical techniques.
For me, as the artist, they're very gratifying to do. And definitely over the years, I've worked on refining my technique to get it to where it is today.
His refined techniques keep patients coming, even without advertising.
The best advertising you can do in the entire world is a happy patient, and because happy patients tell other people.
Which can be seen in their online presence.
We don't do any advertisements per se in the newspaper or anything like that. We have a lot of forums and like the Bald Truth. We have Google reviews, Yelp reviews. So patients find